calls. They were like, hey, how are you doing? No business talked about whatsoever unless for some reason they brought it up, which I'd say most of them really didn't because it was such a scary time. Nobody really knew what was going on. And I'll be
Right.
honest, my business slowed down. I was
Yep.
scared for myself. But so, having all the time in the world to be able to call people, that's what I did. And you
And did
know,
you feel like they all picked up the phone? Like you probably had more like physical conversations than maybe before COVID?
absolutely. I mean, and not to jump ahead, but even doing pop buys, people would come out of their house and run
Yeah.
after me. Whereas before, you would go and you'd maybe ring the doorbell and they would run. Nobody, you knew they were home, but they wouldn't come out. But
Right.
so I mean, people were more. I mean, everybody treated it differently. I would say, but it.
Yeah.
Like I said,
But you kind of felt, based on what your database, what they were saying to you, like if you could physically drop stuff off, or maybe they just weren't comfortable yet, so you kind of figured out what that path was. Yeah.
right, right.
And Mitchell, what did your database like when you were starting to make your calls, kind of mid March going into April? Did you have the same experience as Herring, or what was your pulse on your database at that initial gut check?
I think, I mean, I had a very similar experience. I tended to keep mine lighthearted and just, maybe make a little joke or whatever.
Right.
And, and, I got the same reaction back. Like, can you believe this? Or this is crazy, or, what is going on? And so, everybody responded well to me just checking on them and saying, hey, and
Good. I love that. So the second one I wanted, so we're in it right now, but we've been in it for a while. Like, now that you're communicating with your database again, so that sounds like that both Ann, Haring Ann, and Mitchell, you like did that gut check. Hey, how's the family? But now it's kind of turned. It's a slightly different conversation, or is it the same? Like, what are the things that you're saying on the phone to your database that you said in September? Maybe that's different than when we were kind of right at the beginning of March, April. How has the conversation changed, and maybe give us specific things that what you're saying on the phone that may be different. So Ann, Haring, you want to start with walk us
Well,
through
I
what your
mean,
language is?
I think everybody knows the market has changed completely. And to me, we've gone into spring. That's the way my business has gone. And so again, before, when you were concerned about, their welfare, their jobs, all of that, you still, the conversation is always going to be, hey, how's everybody doing? Is everybody still, working or whatever? Because I feel like there's so many people that have lost jobs and we all don't know about it because nobody posts that on Facebook.
Yeah,
So, um,
that's
you know, just being able to ask them how they're doing or whatever, and then somehow get into the conversation, about the market, because they're going to ask questions, and the questions are, number one, the interest rates are so low. Just feeding them with facts on that. Inventory level, we all know. I mean, we're probably have about half the inventory we had a year ago or whatever. So all
right.
of that, people always want to talk about real estate, and once you get through the initial, hey, how are you doing? I just wanted to give you an update of what's going on in the market in case you want to know. So
And
again,
you tell everybody that, even if they're not like on your pipeline to buy or sell, like you're just calling your database to check again how their job status is, and then goes into those interest rate and inventory. Like you're saying that to everybody. There's no
right. I mean, and especially the ones that may be in your pipeline to eventually sell,
right.
kind of like now's the time. I hate to say it, but they're scared to because there's nothing out there to buy. But
Well, something that I wrote down that I thought was interesting is it's the spring market. Like Ann Mitchell, you have 4 listings coming up this week, and Herring, you've got a lot as well. So I do feel it's interesting. I don't think we're going to see the seasonality that we normally see in real estate. It's almost like in a weird, it's backwards in a way. So, I mean, that's my dog's bark.
I think the election has people a little nervous too. I keep hearing that. Like, I think the fact that I have 4 listings, I had 2 last week, I have 1 this week, and 1 actually moved to next week. I heard from a lot of those folks that they want to make a move and get listed and under contract before the election. because, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not that smart, but I think they're nervous. And so I feel like that there's a sense of urgency right now.
I find that interesting because regardless of your political belief, whoever is the president, it takes another year before anything is either changed or modified. So I don't know if they think this magic wand, whoever's the president, November, it just the next day, it like poof, it becomes a different country.
I
So
mean,
I
I'm
think
not telling them no. I'm like, bring it on.
yeah,
you know?
You're using it as
Yeah.
a pain or pleasure thing. I get
Yeah.
that. So,
Well, and you were with me when Chris Parks said that
Yep.
he thinks the government is holding on to a ton of foreclosures and they're all going to be released after the election. So, I mean,
yeah.
so inventory levels might go up a little bit, but they might be, foreclosures, and then we get to go back into that market again.
Yeah, and Haring and I went to lunch with Chris Parks, which is McLean Mortgage, right? And he said that he has, knowledge that some of the banks are holding their foreclosures because they're trying to, push them into the market slowly, if not at all right now. So that'll be interesting to see for sure. So, what other questions did I have? Like, being honest, because we all know we're busy. We have now homeschooling. I feel like we have more dishes in the dishwasher than we've ever had. And I'm so sick of Clayton. I'm not going to complain. But so we have so much going on in our life. Like, how many a day or how many a week do you think is possible that you've been doing since maybe COVID started? Did you ramp up and you do a lot at the beginning? Did you kind of thin out and maybe you don't do as much? So like, give us a number. Like, how many people do you connect with, physical conversations, text, email, that you think you probably do on a daily basis maybe, or weekly? Ann Mitchell, you want to take that one? Like, what do you think is it? I'm not going to say the word consistency because I don't think our world is consistent. So I wouldn't put that on you to be consistent. But what do you think is an average number that you would say you communicate with in a given day, maybe week?
I guess for me, and this might not be the right answer, but if I can get through my DT-D2 alphabet for the week, then I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
I don't really have a goal by day because sometimes I'll have a plan and then I might have to run upstairs and help with math or fix the technology issue with school going on.
Right.
And so sometimes my days start out one way and then they go a different way. So if I can get through my 2 letters of that week, then
what is your normal amount for 2 letters? So like this past week was A and W, last name's A and W.
I would say on average, it's probably 20.
20 a week.
Yeah.
Okay. And Haring, what about you? Like, what would you say your number is with you have a completely different household and a completely different chapter in your life. So where would you say, with all your responsibilities that have crept up and things like that, how many conversations do you think you're having?
Well, okay, so I'm not a very organized person in such that, I mean, I do what I can get done.
Sure.
And like, I mean, I did a reverse pop by where they called me. And so having that one day where I did 40 phone calls, so I'm not going to call those 40 people for the next month or whatever. So I've been, my goal is I have my 100 top people and to get through, just to stay in touch with them. And it's not necessarily going to be calls. It's going to be calls, pop-bys, and the mailers, everything that I do. And so that's how I, when I did pop-bys in May, I did 50 in one day. Okay, yeah. I mean, in 1 week. So that's kind of, I guess, and
I think that's good.
Not an example but it works for me.
But you still got it done. You just do them in batches. So you're like, I'll do 50 in a week versus maybe 5 or 10 a day. So I think that works well
for me. And I would suggest to anybody to do that reverse.
Somebody did ask, what is a reverse pop by? So can you explain that a little bit?
Okay, well, so Ainsley Dillon, I got the idea from her. And what we did was I got 3 vendors to do a $200 giveaway. Well, I was one of them. And so we advertised it on Facebook, telling all my friends, hey, we're going to be giving away a $200 giveaway. and we just ran it for a week. So it was very, very quick. It was like, okay, started on Monday, and by Friday we were, you had to call me on Thursday in order to be entered into the drawing on Friday. And you would be amazed, you guys. Again, it gives you, the people actually have to call you, and they would text me on Monday and go, can you put me in the drawing? And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I can't. You'll be disqualified. Don't make me do this. So, so really, if you're looking for an easy way to get people to call you, I would recommend it to anybody. And, so I got Shaheen Law Firm to help. They donated because I use them a lot, and my insurance agent as well. And then we did a live drawing at Shaheen's office, and Mark Winford, the insurance company guy, was there, and so they saw us actually draw. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I think you plan on maybe doing that once a quarter because you've had such good success.
Absolutely. Because again, you guys, I don't know about you. I'm scared to call people and just say, hey, do you know anybody who wants to buy or sell? It's just not me. And so I just have to keep it as real as I possibly can.
I love that. That's awesome though. So hopefully that helps. It's basically them calling you. I love it because it's efficient. You can get through 40 or 50 people in one day versus, maybe 5 or 10 per week or 20 per week, right? So, before we kind of transition into like other touches, what did you do to stay connected to your database? Because, Ann Haring, you've said like, hey, I don't like making phone calls, but you probably made more phone calls than you have in a long time because of COVID. And Ann Mitchell, the same thing. So what allowed you to be motivated? Because so many times I've heard panels where agents are kind of sitting on the couch. They're nervous. They're nervous about their bills. They're nervous about what their business is going to look like. And you can either freeze or you can go into action. And both of you really stepped up and did a lot more action, whether it's texting or calling or Facebook or events, which we'll talk about further. But what went through your head to like get you off the couch and actually doing work when a lot of real estate agents were frozen and they didn't even know what to do? So Ann Mitchell, you want to take that? Like what got you to get out of bed and just do it anyway?
All right. So I've been, at the end of this year, it'll be 5 years I've been in real estate. And I have worked harder at this than probably anything in my whole entire freaking life. And I'm not going backwards. So.
Yes. Amen, girl.
So,
yeah.
I knew I had to keep going and keep doing the things. And if you talk to me ever, I always say foot on the gas. Like, that's what you got to do. And so I wasn't letting off. I knew it was going to be different, and it is. I'm not going to make my goal I started this year with, but
you're not going backwards. You're on track for last year.
I'm not going backwards. So I knew I had no choice, and my family is dependent on me to bring in the income. So it had to happen.
Yeah. And Haring, what about you? What kept you motivated to kind of keep in touch with your database when you easily could have just crawled in bed and said, I'll wait until all this crap is over?
Well, I'll say the same thing Ann said. This is the most lucrative career I've ever had in my life. And again, I don't want to go backwards. My goal is to put away so much money every year. Steve lost his job. And if that had happened 4 years ago, I don't know what we would have done, but I've been able to keep running our household, because of my income. So yes, there was a time when I just felt horrible. And I think Ann and I both, we would call each other, and other agents and say, hey, what's going on? What are you doing? Because, we were all scared and, doing everything we can to encourage each other. Hey, what do you have going on? Well, I don't have anything, and like, not, it was scary, but I think, I don't like, just staying in touch with your database, doing the Buffini thing and all of that, you just had to keep going. And,
yeah,
I could have sat back on my savings, but no, I'm not doing as much as I did last year, but, hey,
doing as much volume, but you're still doing your marketing. You're still spending money on your farm. You didn't stop spending that money, right?
Yeah. I will admit at one point it's like going down the budget. What can I cut out of my budget? Blah, 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 and kind of did that a little bit for a couple months. I'm not going to send out my mailers or whatever. And now knowing, forget it. You've got to just be consistent and continue to do what you were doing.
Yeah.
Do what helped you get to be where you are now, and just continue to do it. And,
I love that, because I think one of the first things when someone's having maybe not a perfect year like they planned, they always cut their marketing budget or their coach. That's the two things, which are both bad choices, not to say that, but just because I think you need the motivation from your coach and some strategies. But really the bigger concept of what I was saying is the marketing, they cut their budget. If you've been farming a neighborhood for a year or two, and then you cut your budget, don't send the flyers, what you just built up 2 years ago or 2 years, it literally almost vanishes so quickly. So I think you're both very cognizant of your budgets, but you were really focused on still maintaining that consistency. I thought was good. So Marcellus had a question, Ann Haring, about foreclosed. Did you work in that foreclosure market in 2008 at all?
Oh, I sold a ton of foreclosures. I think, $35,000 houses, $50,000 houses. I mean, it was unbelievable. I worked at the mall for Long and Foster. They had a kiosk where people would come up and they would walk up to me and go, I want to buy a foreclosure. And they actually, there was a lot of people that did. And I showed so many dumpy houses that should have been condemned. But I'm telling you, I mean, those people still keep in touch with me that I sold those foreclosures to. I mean, it's
So that perspective, like going through what we're going through now compared to that, is there a comparison to 2008 to 2020? Do you even see that's even, or even maybe what we think is going to happen in 2021? We're not a crystal ball expert, but do you see it being the same or completely different?
Oh, no, it's completely different. I mean, like when I go over into the areas where I was selling foreclosures before, there's houses that are totally renovated, and I tell people, oh my gosh, 10 years ago, you should have seen the houses I was showing over here on Barton Avenue or whatever.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I feel like Richmond has just come so far or whatever. So no, I don't think it's the same. And I don't encourage any of you guys to try to sell foreclosures, because if you're new at it, you have to know so much of what you're doing. You have to be able to look at houses and know whether or not it's going to be a waste of money for your client to waste his $400 on an inspection because the house is going to, just be in horrible shape. So,
right.
Don't encourage your clients to look for foreclosures.
Yeah.
I mean, if you happen to fall on a couple, that's great, but just it's not a very easy market.
So I want to ask one or two more technical questions, and then I want you guys to share with us some secrets of some physical examples, events, pop-bys, things that have worked for you. But the last one, I think probably from a technical, is what do you do to keep your database organized so you kind of know who you've communicated with and who you haven't, and things like that? Because if you're calling them or you're doing pop-bys or whatever, how do you keep yourself organized so when you're talking about many people, you don't forget who the heck they are and those details about their kids and their soccer games and all that stuff? What system do you use? Maybe I'm assuming you're going to use, say, a database. That's why we're talking about this. But is there something else? Is there a dry erase board? Is there a calendar system? Is there an organizational system that you use that you can is a hack that says, okay, these are my top 100 and these are the people that I use pop-bys? So Ann Mitchell, what systems have you put in place beyond just your database that kind of keeps you to where you can stay consistent with touching your database? Is there anything that you're using?
So I am using Command, and I do like the tags in Command because you can filter your database based on tags. Okay. For my pop-bys though, I use a spreadsheet, and it's very simple. At the start of every year, I pull out the people that I want to do pop-bys to. I don't have 100. I try and stick to 30 or 40, and I will add people throughout the year if they give me a referral or they're a new client. But I just have their name, and then I have every month of the year across the top, and I try and do 10 a month. And so I use that spreadsheet to track who has gotten one, and I try and get everybody once a quarter. Okay. so I use that to track my pop buys. And it's very simple spreadsheet. And
I love that though. So, and you like that rather than having in your database because you can see kind of in a big picture where the holes are. Is that why you don't?
yes,
Okay.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Anything
So,
else? Any other systems you use to kind of keep yourself organized for database?
I don't think so. I think I use Command.
Okay. Anything with Facebook? Do you do anything to keep yourself organized with Facebook, or you just kind of go in there and try to, I always say stalk people, like you try to strategically pull up people's names and like make sure that you're familiar with what their life status is? Like,
I try, and when they have birthdays, make sure that if I don't know what they are, add them, because Facebook will tell you when the birthdays are. I'll add them to Command or um, a, um, a calendar reminder.
okay.
I'll set that up. And I have been using ink cards. I'd forgotten about that, but I use ink cards. You told me about that at the beginning of COVID. And that has been really easy for me to remember to send cards for birthdays. So that's an app, and it's super cheap. The cards are $4. You can do a postcard for $2, and that's cheaper than buying a card at Target.
And you can pull in a personal photo, like you just save a photo
Yeah,
off of Facebook.
yeah.
And then,
Mhm.
I mean, if they
And
throw
I've had a ton of people, like, and it may be a card about nothing. Like, I have the cutest little family that I'm close with, and they have a little girl, and they may be doing something fun. They're always on Instagram, and it may be something they've made cupcakes. And so I'll take a screenshot of the picture and send them a little note. The little girl likes she calls it Ann Mail. And so every once in a while I'll send her Ann Mail.
I love that. That's awesome. So, and Harry, anything that you use to kind of keep yourself organized with your database other than your database? Is there any fun little ways that you do things?
Well, I mean, I use Buffini, and
Yep.
it's because I've been using it for so long. And again, I was trying to do away with it, but I'm like, no, why kill something that's working? And I probably should be using Command more, but I don't know. So
And you like it because it auto-populates your pop by people?
yeah, I mean, and it's like anytime I need to do anything, I can just pull up all the people that I want, give Amy a list and go, these are the pop buys I want out. I have, a master sheet of all my pop buys and all my people, my 100 people. And I try to have them organized by, delivery, because my clients are all over the place. And, you want to do all your West End clients at one time, that type of thing. I can't really group them as much by what the gift is, unfortunately, but it just helps me, be more organized with it if I group it by where they, the map search, and I know exactly one after another,
That's a good, that's
who,
really good.
who we're going to go to, because you don't want to be, in your car going, oh, I mean, I used to do that. I used to be that person and be like, oh God, I don't want to, I'd have 10 pop buys in my car and I'd be overwhelmed. I'd be like, oh my God. And just not do them, you're like,
Right.
you have to make it
So
easy.
you organize them obviously by your top 100, and then you subset them and say, these are West End, these are Chesterfield, whatever. So then this week is just West End people, next week is, Chesterfield or whatever, right?
But again, I do 12 a month usually. I mean, just because of Mother's Day and Father's Day and the COVID, I did all of those, in large groups, but I normally do 12 a month. And, again, don't overthink it, because,
So Don,
or get somebody to help you deliver them. I have a new driver.
Yeah.
in my house.
Amy will deliver mine. She does.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what kind of goes, says, do you have a plan? Do you plan out the year in advance? I never get mine all delivered. Like, how do you get them all delivered? Like, do you hire somebody else to do it for you? How do you, like, I mean, do you really get all, if you're doing 10 a month, do all 10 really go out, honestly? Or is it like 5 or 6? Because I live with a buyer's agent that I have Popeyes in my garage. That if her team leader was on this call, she would say, I paid for those. Why the hell are they in our garage? So honestly, like, do you struggle with getting them all delivered, or it's become easy? Like, be honest with where you're at with that.
Well,
Me?
again,
Mitchell.
I
Yeah.
used to be
Okay.
terrible about it.
Yeah, okay.
I do have some from 2 years ago sitting in my garage, but that's when I was really bad about it. And now that I have it organized and I can, I find people, I mean, I've got, my sons every once in a while, like, hey, you want to make some money?
So if you're
Amy
busy
does it.
and you got to get them out, you just leverage it out. You're like,
Yeah, I
kids
do it now.
driving,
I'm pretty good
whatever
at
it takes.
making myself do it now.
And Mitchell, what about you? Do you have any leftover Popeyes in your garage?
I mean, I have, yes. I'm better, and I will get my girls. I'll get Grace drives and Claire hops out and puts them on the porch for me. I'll get them to do it. But if it's one that's far or maybe a difficult, they can't pull over easy, I'll do them. But they have been helping me this year. But I'm not going to, sometimes I will have a random one that I don't ever do. Like if I don't feel like going to Chester, I won't.
Yeah.
I've got one sitting in my car right now because I couldn't find their house. I was like, what? Just happened to be in the neighborhood yesterday. It was a long time ago client. I'm like, I swear it's 6,000 morning this, but
I hear you. So, Ann Mitchell, what would be your your best example of you staying connected with your database as far as communication back? Like, is it a postcard? Is it a Popeye? If it was a Popeye, tell us like exactly what the Popeye was. They all loved it. Was it birthday card? Like, what is like one of the best responses to some of the touches you do in your database? Give us really specific.
I did one Popeye early on. It was early in the summer, and it was lemonade. And I gave them lemons and a box of sugar from the Dollar Tree and a recipe for lemonade. And I got a great reaction for that. I got little plastic yellow baskets from the Dollar Tree, and I got a great reaction to that. But then probably
what was the tag? What did it say?
When life gives you lemons, make lemonade, and then it had the recipe below it.
Super cute. I get that. That's cute.
Because we were like right in the middle, or, we were far enough into this where we were like, what the hell, and
Yeah.
I would say something that I enjoyed, and I feel like I got a lot of good reaction from it, was my client event that I did in August. And we're talking client events tomorrow at the team meeting. This is my plug. Everybody show up. We're doing a panel discussion on client events. And I'm asking the questions. So if you want to know anything specific, text me or email me your question so I can ask the panel tomorrow. But my client event was, I always do an ice cream event at the end of the summer. And I wanted to move it to the beginning of the summer this year, but then COVID hit. So I said, okay, I don't know what my plan is. And it took me all summer to kind of figure it out. But I did a drive-by event where I ordered ice cream sandwiches. My clients got to pick what flavor they wanted, and they told me, and I ordered them. And I was in my driveway with my family, and the clients drove by, and I handed them, I had a little recyclable shopping bag with my logo, and I put their sandwiches in there, and they stopped, and we had like a 5 or 10 minute conversation, and then I gave them their sandwiches, and they were off. And so I touched them or talked to them before, at the event, and then they all got thank you notes for coming afterwards. And so I think that awesome. Has been.
Can I ask you the cost and how many people attended?
I ordered 75 ice cream sandwiches, and most people, my dog is barking, most people came. It was one of the better turnouts that I've had when people have RSVP'd. Yes, they actually did show up. And I spent about $500.
Okay. And then you did it at your house. Like you gave them your address and you stood like in the driveway, and then they kind of.
Yes. So we had a little table. I didn't do decorations. Like last year when I had it at my house and I had an ice cream truck in my driveway, we decorated. We had some games for the kids in the yard. We had my gate open. They could go in the backyard to the trampoline. But this year we just stood there. I was leaving for vacation the next day. So this had to be super easy because I was headed out the next day.
Compared to last year, was this less expensive this time or more expensive?
It was about the same. It was about the same. The ice cream sandwiches, I think, were a little bit more money per sandwich than what the truck charged me per person.
Did you like this version better, or did you like?
I did, because I didn't have to stand around and make conversation with people.
Yeah, I think you and I talked about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Ann Mitchell's not really a talker long term. Like she'll get through it, but somebody
Yeah.
wants to know what type of ice cream sandwiches. I can't remember the name of the company that you used.
It was with River City Chocolate, and I'm talking with him. So he's a business where he provides desserts to restaurants like the Boathouse. But then during COVID, he changed his business, and so now he goes around the neighborhoods and sells desserts to anybody, not just he's not a wholesaler.
He's probably making more money doing that, by the way.
I probably. So he's looking. So he's totally changed his business, and he's opened up his facility. He remodeled it a little bit so he could have a storefront. It's behind the Goodwill on Hall Street, and he's looking at opening a facility over off Midlothian, I think, next year. Anyway, I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, do you want to team up?" And he said yes. And so I had 3 flavors that he was going to make for me. And I'm working on doing my fall event with him too.
Oh, awesome. What are you going to do with, what's your fall event? And then I'll ask Ann here.
I don't know. I'm still deciding. Okay. I'm still deciding.
So do you, Ann Mitchell, then we'll ask Ann, how many events did you originally have planned for this year? And then how many are you really doing with COVID and all the craziness?
I do 1 a quarter.
Okay.
And so this year, before COVID, I did a small ladies paint night. I did that. It was literally like 2 days before the world shut down.
Yep.
So I still did that.
Front porch photos, right?
Oh, I did. I forgot about that. I totally forgot about that. I did that. I did front porch photos, which was a fundraiser for the Chesterfield Food Bank. And I hooked up with a photographer, and we did family photos on everyone's front porch, and they got a photo if they made a donation. Yeah. I totally forgot about that.
And didn't you give them a frame? You framed them and that was like an additional Popeye, or is that something that I imagined?
They got a print, yes. I told them I'd give them an 8x10 with their donation to the food bank. And so then I popped by with their print. Yeah. And I mean, I raised a ridiculous amount of money. I think it was over $1,000 for the food bank. I was shocked at how much money these people were given.
That's awesome. And then, so you did the paint night, the front porch, and you did the ice cream.
And then I'm going to do something before Thanksgiving.
In the fall. Okay. Mm-hmm. So Ann, give us your best, you talked about your reverse Popeye or your first bold, how that was really successful. But is there anything that you've done in the last 4, 5, 6 months that you're like, this really had the biggest response from my database? Like you really felt like they rallied behind you, they replied to you. Is there a few things that you could kind of think of that you've done recently that has gotten a good response from your database?
Well, I mean, you've been on my case and I haven't really done an event because I have the events. I had a brunch scheduled and that got canceled. And so that's why I, doing those flowers, people still have the flowers that I gave them for Mother's Day and they keep telling me about it. And I picked a flower, a mandevilla, that I knew would last into fall. And so,
how many did you deliver? How much were they?
I delivered about 50 of them and they were $4 a piece. And I bought a little vase. No, they're $5. I always do $5. I mean, okay. I'll be honest, $5. I used to buy really cheap Popeyes and then I'd be too embarrassed to drop them off. And so, I think it's better to spend a little more money and have a better Popeye. Then you don't I don't know. It's just me. I probably overthink things, but that way I feel like I'm giving them something of value or whatever, rather than just like a can opener or something that they'll just throw out. I don't know. But that's just the way I've done it. I mean that giveaway, I will have to say that was one of the best events that I had all year. And so,
that was not normal. You were you've never done that before, right?
Yeah,
that was really outside of your box, your comfort zone.
Exactly. But I do feel like so I'm going to do my pie event that I do every year, and I'm going to do it at Plaza Azteca, and I'm going to give people the opportunity, if they want to just come in there with their mask on and pick up their pie, which what a lot of people do anyway. What I do is I offer them 3 different pies from Costco. I go pick them all up. I mean, I send out paper invitations. I send out an Evite as well. People have to tell me what kind of pie they want. And then I offer, you know, Plaza Azteca, their back room. When they walk in, I thank them for coming and I tell them drinks and chips are on me. If you would like to have dinner, you know, that's on you. But please, you know, take your pie, you know, and go home now.
I love that.
No, but I mean, so it's worked out really well because number one, they have to communicate with you as to what kind of pie. So you actually know how many people are coming. And they're always like, why do you have such big pies? It's like, well, it's probably the best value and it's easy for me and it works. And the people at Plaza Azteca are awesome there. And I think there's enough room there so that I can do it again this year because, I mean, you know, and like I said, I mean, I was like, hey, you know, drinks are on me, the pie's on me. If you, you know, want to stay and enjoy a cocktail and order dinner, go right ahead and do it.
Right.
And they do it. And I've had a lot, you know.
Why do you think giving them a Costco pie works? I always think that's so fascinating. It's not that you're not gracious and genuine with it, but it's a $5 or $10 pie, but everyone wants to get the damn pie. Like what do you think is the point of it?
I've had people come from out of town or say, you know, my son's going to come by and pick it up. I'm like, okay. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, they really want that pie. And
It's crazy to me.
See, my problem is that Ann does an ice cream truck. A lot of my clients are older and they're like maybe, you know, they've moved because they are downsizing or whatever. So for me to have an event with a lot of kids is not really my clientele. So
Right.
I have to be, you know.
So that's good advice, is like know what your database is. Like if you don't have a very kid heavy database with growing families, the ice cream event may not be a good choice, right? So knowing that.
I mean, so normally, you know, and hopefully next year I'll have it again, my backyard barbecue where I not only invite my clientele, I invite my neighbors as well. And I give them separate invitations so people don't know that, you know, that it's a client event. But when they get there, they figure it out because I do it in conjunction with my
So that leads to a question in the chat is like, when you guys are doing your events, how do you know who to invite versus who don't? Like, does everybody in your database get invited to the ice cream truck event? And Mitchell, does everybody get invited to the pie event? So how do you discern who goes to those events? Because if you build a database pretty hefty, that could get expensive, right? So how do you, and Mitchell, how did you decide how that was going to work out?
I think it depends on the event. So for the ice cream truck that was in my driveway, I farm my neighborhood. And so my sphere and my farming overlap. And so I invited a lot of people to that. I invited past clients, people who've given me referrals. And I always invite anybody who supports my business just by sharing on Facebook or asking me. And I also invited neighbors. I invited my whole street. I invited people around me that, you know, I would see at the bus stop regularly, that kind of thing. But this year with the drive-by event, I kept it strictly to clients, past clients, current clients, anybody in my pipeline, and then people who've given me referrals. Now, my ladies' night, paint night, was a very, very small group because that was more intimate. It was, you know, we were sitting down for 2 hours, and I was making a specific ask at that event. So that was really past clients who I knew had referred me or sent me business, or people that weren't past clients but had given me referrals. So that was a much smaller group.
Okay. And Haring, what about you? How do you decide who you invite to your backyard barbecue? You mentioned your neighbors get a separate invitation, but how do you decide who the person gets those invitations and who doesn't?
Well, I think what you find with that is that I guess some of your neighbors, if they know that it is kind of a client event because they've been to it or whatever, they won't come if they're not going to use you as a realtor. So you don't have to worry about that. So, you know, I'm really careful. Like Amy will be like, Ann, you know,
And Amy is
my assistant.
Yeah. Okay.
So she wanted to post something about the Popeyes that we did last week. And I said, no, you can't do that. I only did 12. So, you know, I don't want anybody to ever feel left out. So, you know, you know, so
So
again,
you're very strategic on how you do it, and then also social media, so no one gets.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, you just have to be really careful, you know. I mean, you can have a closed Facebook event with only your clients if it's going to be an expensive venture or whatever. But I'll be honest. I mean, when I was starting out doing these things, I was inviting more people, and you know, you hope to gain them as your clients or whatever. But like I said, I think a lot of people are very respectful of the fact that they know it's your client event. And I've even had my neighbors say, you know, I don't have any business to refer you or whatever. And I'm like, well, you know, as long as you think of me or whatever. But if they've used, you can figure out usually whether, you know, people,
They're
if
gonna
they
use
bought
you or
and
not.
sold recently, where a lot of the Magnolia Green people that I've met recently, they have bought and sold houses recently, and they have their loyalty to their agent. So, you know, I think you just have to be, you know, you can figure things out by like looking on
Tax
Facebook and
record
seeing
and all
what's
that.
going on, you know,
Mhm.
look up their address, see when they bought or whatever, if you are meeting people for the first time. So
I agree.
again, yeah, I mean, you can be very strategic.
And to tie a bow with, Dawn wanted to know how many pies that you deliver or that you give away
Oh
generally.
gosh, I think there was probably about 50 last year. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that's an expensive event, but I don't do a Christmas gift. So
Gotcha.
that's my, you know,
That's your
that's
big
my,
one for the year. Okay.
yeah. I mean, you know, I don't know. My barbecue is also pretty expensive too, but you know, I mean, sometimes you have to give back to. Don't be cheap about your events if you can. If you're making money, you kind of have to spend money, you know.
Yeah, I think they know that. I mean,
Look
they
at the
know that.
competition out there with other agents and what they're doing or whatever. I mean, but again, if you touch your client twice a year with the client event or whatever, just and they bought a house from you, or they gave you a referral, or they sold. I mean, look at it that way, you
Right.
know.
I love that.
And then your neighbors, you don't have to, you know.
So
give them.
final advice for both of you guys. So if they, maybe there's people listening to this recording later, but what about like if they maybe they just haven't stayed in touch with their database. They were in a funk, COVID just got them, you know, down. What do you think is your like last piece of advice to those people that maybe just need to get back on the wagon and start communicating with their database, whether it's an event or a pop-by or a phone call? Like what is your advice to those that maybe aren't on track with communicating with their database? So Ann Haring, you want to end with your advice on that person or to that
Well,
person?
I guess in a way, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how far back you're saying. Like, if they didn't communicate with them since March or
I mean,
whatever,
COVID is 6 months. Can you believe it? So
maybe don't even bring that up. Just, you know, make it, you know, kind of just say, hey, just calling to see how you're doing. Have you, you know, made it through, blah, blah, blah. I don't think anybody's ever going to judge whether or not you called them 3 months ago or not. They're just, you
right.
know,
I agree with
because
that.
for all they know, they may have missed a phone call from you or whatever. Hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. I just want to see how you're doing. You know, just
Right.
act like everything's, you know,
Normal.
like you might have, you
You
know.
might have, right.
I
Allude
don't
to
know,
that.
but there is a letter in Buffini, I think, that says, "Hey, I'm sorry, I've been out of touch" or whatever.
Yeah.
And that person too. I don't know. Just be honest.
I think just being honest and just get back. I love that. So, Ann Mitchell, what about you? You know, if maybe they haven't been communicating with the database, what's your advice to get on track?
I think there's no better time of year to have a reason to touch people than right now. We have so much going. I mean, you have Halloween, you have Thanksgiving, you have Christmas. So I think there's lots of opportunities to just jump right back in. And if you've been around me at all, I've talked about I like a plan. You know that, Drew. I like a plan. Make a plan right now. It's just October 12th. Make a plan for the rest of the year and just do it. And there's easy things. Do Christmas cards. Like I didn't do Christmas cards last year, but I'm going to do them this year. And I do them from my family. And I'll probably, you know, have a photo of my family and I'll send them out. And I mean, there's lots of ways. You could do a handwritten note or go to the Dollar Tree and pick up a pack of Christmas cards. Or, you know, Halloween's different this year. Think of something, a cool pop by for Halloween. I think this time of year, there's a lot of opportunities
I
to
agree.
get back in
Absolutely.
the swing.
So really no excuse. So if you didn't do it in the past, it is what it is. But you've got October, November, December. You can look forward in the next 2 to 3 months for sure. So awesome. Any other questions in the chat box that I missed? You guys were active on this. We did talk about wrapping paper. I know Ann Mitchell does wrapping paper that she drops off.
And
do you
that's
want to
a
give
really
a little tip?
cheap, that's a cheap pop by. So I go to the Dollar Tree and I buy wrapping paper. They have Scotch tape, a 3-pack for $1. And I get ribbon, like the curling ribbon at the Dollar Tree, and I wrap those up. And that's my pop by for December. And I do that to a lot of people. So probably everyone on my pop by list will get a wrapping paper. And I create a cute tag, like wrapping up a great year in real estate. Thank you for your support. Here's a little something to help you wrap up your holidays, or something cheesy like that.
Yeah.
And I've done that for years.
You've done that for years. I remember right when you first started, and you just are very consistent with that. And they look forward to their dollar store wrapping paper, which again drives me. I don't even understand it, but people love free stuff, right? Well, thank you guys so much for, hopefully it's inspired everybody to just keep communicating with your database. I guess my last is, you guys both have a very high percentage, almost all of your business comes from your database. You don't buy internet leads. You don't do a lot of other calling FSBOs expireds. You really work, the heart of your business is your database, which I think is a testament to that consistency piece. Even though there's days and months and weeks that you may get off track, you get back on track. So good job. Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies. You guys are awesome. Let me share my screen with you one more time. We'll run through a couple more things. I wanted to show you a reminder of a few things we have coming up, and then we'll be done, because I know Zoom, what is it called? Zoom brain makes us all like crazy. So I'm just going to share my screen real quick to finish up. I think I deleted my, and then we'll kind of be done for the rest of everything. Let me just pull this up real quick. Sorry, I got click happy and so we did all this, so we're good to go. So these are some things that I just want to give you ideas of Popeyes. Obviously right now tends to be the food. Everybody's, I don't know if it's the comfort food, but a lot of people are doing Popeyes with food. So bun cakes, people mentioned pies and things like that. So there's some cute tags. Denise, are you going to create some tags for us this month? Hints.
If people would like me to, I can stick a few in Canva, yes. Okay.
So if you want some cute little tags that say, you know, whether it's a slice of pie or anything like that, she'll kind of throw a couple in there. And then these are some cute ones. I've seen these as well, like getting small little candles for people. I thought this was a really cute. Working with a trusted real estate agent makes sense. Get it? The germs, obviously, we're in.
I also did one for a candle that said something about the fall market is sensational. Oh, so there are different kind of, as Ann said, cheesy things you can kind of work in there.
But people love stuff like that. Again, these are not going to be they're not $1 or $2. They're usually $4 or $5, but as we go through.
Buy them at Marshall's.
Oh, you went to Marshall's?
For home goods.
Okay. This is a postcard that David Galden did in Canva. So I wanted, not in Canva, in Command. So he had a great response. So he does a quarterly report. He pulled this template from Command. So that's the front of it. You'll see the pendings closed here, and then he lives in this neighborhood. So he's got a little information on that. And then on the back is his recent business, whether he does commercial, and he also has properties under contract, things like that. So it was great. He texted me a photo of that because he had good response. So just wanted to kind of inspire you guys to do that. I would love for you guys to send it to me. And then Melinda had sent me this one as well. She just did a just sold. This one, Melinda, I don't know if you're still on here. I think she did this one in Canva though. Did you do this in Canva? I think you did, yeah. So these templates are all there, but again, we always talk about you have to prospect to your database, which is calling, texting, those pop buys, but then you still have to market to them. You still have to do is Catherine Curran and AC on here? you guys created a template for a monthly newsletter to your database, I think. So we still have to make sure we're marketing to them. Prospecting to your database is a kind of a separate ball of wax.
Right. We did do that newsletter, and
Can you email that to me so I can show people next month?
yeah. And I can tell you the most encouraging thing I heard was Ann Mitchell and Ann Haring said, look, nobody really reads it.
Yes. It's just a one pager and you just get it out.
I can do this now.
It's the truth. It's true.
Drew, in regards to that quarterly, monthly report, we're not allowed to put anything but solds in your neighborhood, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I do averages for average and for active and pending.
Yeah.
Average, like what?
Like
Average
average square
pending,
footage, average price
square-
point, average days on market.
Yeah, I've done that. But I mean, I think people like to see the addresses and what's sold.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
I've been doing it both ways, yeah. But I just
Absolutely.
want to make sure people knew that they can't put active and pending in their neighborhood.
Yeah, I say that, and then people still send it how they want, and I'm not the
Oh,
MLS police. But
Police.
yes, I do
Yeah.
tell everybody. And then obviously it's called Do the Database 2. We're right at the beginning of the first quarter. We're only in week 2. So if you need to get back on track with that, it's, again, perfect time of year. And then I have a sad face. Our goal was to kind of really have I feel like we have tons of reasons and excuses to send mail out right now. So if maybe it's because we haven't emailed Denise, but we had a contest of sending 1,500 pieces of gratitude in the mail for October. So again, if that's thank you notes, that could be fall cards, it could be happy Halloween cards, like whatever you need to do to get some mail in people's mailbox. People are reading their mail. Like it's crazy. We're all going to the mailbox and I get excited to look at the mail. So make sure you're emailing Denise or text Denise that you have, because we literally, I think we counted 26 and it's 12 days in, which is not super great. So I'm sure you guys are doing it. You're just not reporting it. What's that?
I have a ton of note cards. If
Okay,
anybody,
good.
I can bring them in on Wednesday.
Me too.
Yes, put them in the workroom and then I'll send a message out if you're donating cards. We'd love to do that. And then last thing is just a couple reminders. Some things are going up. We are doing Market of the Moment. That's on this Thursday on the 15th at 9 a.m. We're just taking a snapshot of what MLS is doing in the Richmond market. So we'll kind of go through that briefly, and that'll be recorded. But then I just got an email from Beth Pretty that she's going to do a mastermind with us on October 21st. So she's on track to do 75 units at 26.5 million this year. And she did 22 million last year. So she's ahead of what she did last year. So she's having a killer business. In fact, in her email, she said she had to change her goals twice because she's exceeding her goals. So I don't know about you, but I want to learn what the heck she's doing in her business. So she's giving us an hour of her time, 45 minutes to be technical. I will record it, but it's on October 21st at 1 o'clock. I'll be kind of interviewing Beth Pretty. In the closed Facebook group, though, I put a link to a Google form, and you can ask questions to her. So, but do it ahead of time. And I'm going to have all the questions printed out and given to her ahead of time. So if you have specific questions for Beth Pretty at that October 21st event, we'll make sure we email, and it's already posted on Facebook. There's a Google form, and just send me like what questions you want to ask Beth. Okay. But she's doing great in her business, and I'd love to kind of hear what her secrets are. 75 units for 2020. That's crazy. And then we've never done this before, but we're actually doing a time management workshop, and we're doing a growth plan workshop. Time management is a 1-hour workshop we're doing on the 26th. So we're going to have a couple guests that are going to pop in and join us to help us manage our time a little bit more effectively. So if you want to get more done in your workday, the 26th of October at 10 a.m., we're doing a 1 hour from 10 to 11. And then we're doing growth plan. So growth plan is not number based, it's action based. So we're going to walk us through the books we read, the workshops we should attend, the trainings we should attend, so you can really build a robust growth plan. And it's not based on how many houses you want to sell. It's activities specifically. So when you go into 2021, you have a plan of what trainings you're going to go to, what they're going to cost. So there's no kind of surprise when it comes to that. And then if you guys know anybody who wants to be in coaching with me or us, just so you know, we are coaching agents, KW or not KW. I've been talking to EXP, Century 21. There's another one. So there's a lot of, if you have any realtors that are any different brokerages, we are coaching people that are not affiliated with KW. And then of course, if you know anybody at KW as well, so let me know about that. But otherwise, that's kind of our topic for today. I did record this last part, so I will send it out to you guys. Let me see, there's a few questions. Drew, can you post the DT2 calendar on Facebook again? Yes, I can. Denise said she would. And then when you send out gratitude cards, do you put your business cards in it? So what is your guys' answer? When you send gratitude cards out, like Christmas cards, thank you cards, do you put your business card in there? Thumbs up, thumbs down, yes, you do, no, you don't.
Both. I do both. I think it depends on who the people are and my relationship with them.
Yep. I intentionally do if I felt like it's not going to make them uncomfortable. Like I've tried to gut check it. So that's my answer. I don't always put them in there, but if it's my dentist, he's getting a business card. If it's my mom, she probably already has my business card. So.
Yeah, I don't think people care as much these days because they don't, it's paper and it's wasteful or whatever. So absolutely. I think you're okay either way. You don't have a lot of money,
don't do it. Right. All right. Well, thank you guys. Hopefully I'll see you guys at the next workshops, and make sure your one-on-ones with coaching, I send you an email through Google Calendar. Make sure you accept those, because if I don't see that you accept, then I assume that that day doesn't work, which is totally fine. But I want to make sure that you guys are getting your one-on-one coaching sessions. Okay. All right. Well, have a great rest of your week. And like Ann Mitchell said, we have our team meeting tomorrow. They're actually going to dive really deep into events. I think they have Tracy Kurzane, Megan,
Beth,
and
Ann flaked out on me.
Wow,
Oh, she's got another prior commitment.
No, right. Things got changed. I'll call you.
I know this rain is like.
It does. It's messed up photos and all kinds of stuff for listeners.
Yeah, but I'll call you. I'm calling you right after this, Ann.
Okay.
All right, all. Appreciate you. Have a great week. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank Ann Haring. Thanks, Ann Mitchell. Bye.